Hey Medinians, look at my first Planetfall dev vlog. Uh, I've been really busy recently, insanely busy, but things are finally calming down enough that I can sit down in front of a webcam and talk for a bit. Today I'll be talking about economy, resources, and conquest in Planetfall. Remember, everything I'm saying today is not just subject to change, it's likely to change. We just feel like we need to pull back the curtain a little bit and show our work on paper behind the scenes. We want to be transparent with everybody while we're going through the process, and besides, we thought it might be interesting. Each of these systems has far-reaching consequences for other aspects of the game. A lack of or overabundance of a particular resource could water down the usefulness of a skill like mining or agriculture, and that would lead to one thing we really want to avoid, which is resets. While we are in alpha, resets just suck, and we'd like to make our experience for our testers suck as little as possible. Now, the economy is primarily based on resources and equipment. We don't establish a currency. It may be barter system forever. That's mostly up to the players, though. In the end, we want the economy to support action and encourage action for the players and lead to meaningful story. Now, the economy is very important to the game. We need to ensure that staff has levers to pull within the economy. Without any oversight whatsoever, it might get out of control and it might stay that way. If we have controls, we can kind of head that off before it gets bad or it gets too far out of control. Our usage of technology allows us to maintain this on a massive scale with good data coming into us, and at present a lot of games just don't have access to that sort of thing. A lot of games use paper tags, and most of the time they don't even track those paper tags that, or much less their flow within the economy itself. Now, my favorite analogy for an economy is a sink, like a kitchen sink. You have faucets that, a faucet or faucets that flow water into the sink, and then you have a drain or drains that remove water from the sink. Value flowing into the economy is like turning a faucet on, getting water into the sink. Value flowing out of the economy is like opening the drain, letting water flow out of the sink. Now, you always want some water in the sink. Otherwise, the economy has just crashed. No one is trading, no one is getting what they need, everyone's basically living at the subsistence level. You also don't want the sink to overflow. Otherwise, in that case, in the analogy, everyone has everything that they need, and no one has any reason to participate in the economy, and thus there's no conflict, and conflict makes good story. Resources. Resources have to mean something to a character. You have to represent the idea of a thing that the character could be using that can make the character's life easier, or something like that. Now, the resource web should be something of a simulacrum of the Earth economy and the production chain. Importantly, there's no one person can really control the whole thing. You just don't have the time to manage and protect all of the resources that you could gather, and you just don't have enough to gather all of those resources yourself. And also, switching contexts and things like that costs you time, and that's where Tau comes in. Now, Tau is our mechanic for time. It's both the most valuable resource and the great equalizer among characters. A lot of tasks just need workers. Sometimes you need skilled workers, and sometimes you need unskilled workers. Now, quick economics lesson. You might have someone who has mining 2. Let's call them person A. That also means that, by the way, that they have mining 1 and construction 2. They just have a good number of skills. Now, person B comes along, and maybe they only have mining 1. The rest of their skills are firearms, let's say. Now, let's keep it simple and say we just have three ore deposits in our little economy here. Person A, in economic terms, has an absolute advantage. They just mine ore better than person B. Now, even though person A, in all cases, can do better than person B in this little example of the economy, we're not even getting into maybe person B can do something better than person A. We're just saying that person A has a complete competitive advantage. It still benefits person B more to seek out their least competitive disadvantage. Person B is still spending their time as effectively as they can, and importantly, they're still useful to the group. That's what we really want. We really want to be sure that every colonist is useful in some way, and probably the way that they want to be useful. Now, as it relates to other LARP games, the economic problem might be that high-level established players not only have a complete economic advantage, but they have an absolute advantage to producing. Like when you kill monsters, get gold, silver, whatever, crafting, things like that. And they can actually entirely shut newer players out of the economy. There's just no reason for a new player to even participate in the economy. The time that they would spend participating in the market wouldn't even begin to scratch the surface. Now, obviously, we think this can be improved upon, partially with our usage of technology, of course. Now, Conquest. Developing Conquest demanded that we establish a few things, primarily what is a group. We really are just formalizing what a group is and making a mechanic for a group, namely, what does leadership actually mean for a group? How many people can be a member of a group? We don't want to have, say, potentially everyone in one group, or potentially not enough people in a group. And we want to have enough groups in the game that there will be trade in between groups, which we'll also be formalizing mechanically. With that in mind, with Conquest, we want to avoid two things. We want to avoid constant warfare, and we also want to avoid constant guard duty in the live game. We just don't think either of those are very interesting, so we're working mechanically to try to discourage those things. Now, currently our train of thought is that we'll have several locations on the site where these will be used to initiate conquest actions. Here, the attackers declare which node they'll be attacking, not necessarily the same node for every location, and they start breaking into the node. Meanwhile, the owner of the node is notified of this. They have a limited amount of time to respond and gets people together and fend off the attackers from the node. Now, Conquest should feed the in-game politics and drive the in-game action. We don't want it to drag down into a bunch of constant fighting over resources. It's really important to us that we have a lot of time spent by players interacting, negotiating, and really developing these awesome stories amongst themselves. But that's it for this run. I hope it reveals a bit of interesting information and interesting material. Please send me a PM on the forums if you have any feedback on either the video itself or on, hopefully, the content. You can also do a group discussion on the Facebook link. We just want some feedback in isolation from the rest of the group as well. Thanks for watching, though, and prepare for Planetfall.